Do you believe in the paranormal? I've always been fascinated by the unknown, even while feeling like something unknown was tormenting me. My earliest memories are scattered. When I was around 7 or 8, I tripped over a cord and split my forehead open, needing stitches. Because of that, a lot of my childhood is foggy, but I'll tell this story as close to chronologically as I can. For as long as I can remember, I had nightmares. Not just ordinary nightmares, but the same type, over and over. They were always disturbing, always sexual in nature. Sometimes I was myself trapped in my own house. Sometimes I was somebody else entirely living through her body. One dream I'll never forget. I wasn't me. I was a girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, wearing a pink shirt, blue capri jeans, and Converse. I was sitting on sun-heated concrete steps outside a red brick building. I knew I didn't want to be there, but I also knew I was being forced. I could feel this disgusting sense of dread, like a burning hole deep in my stomach, because I knew what I was about to have to do, and it felt wrong, dirty, and humiliating. I remember the sun on my skin, and the moment a tall guy with straight-leg blue jeans and black and white slip-on Vans walked up the stairs. I never looked at his face. I didn't want to. He walked inside the building, and the burning in my gut got worse because I knew what was coming next. As soon as I walked through the building door, I woke up, jolted straight out of the nightmare, and every time I wanted to go back and save her. I hated sleeping. I was terrified I'd get stuck there, unable to wake up, trapped in those nightmares forever. Sometimes my dreams weren't sexual. Sometimes people were chasing me or trying to kidnap me. There is a specific kind of horror in trying to run in a dream and feeling like your legs won't move fast enough. It felt cruel, like I was being hunted for someone's amusement. When my dad started traveling for work, my siblings and I slept with my mom. I was probably 10 or 11. I dreaded closing my eyes. One night while laying next to my mom, I suddenly got flashes, violent, intrusive images of an axe hitting her. I remember freezing in shock, clinging to her, terrified of myself. She pushed me away in her sleep because she didn't like being touched, but I needed to feel her there. I didn't know how to say, "I just saw myself killing you," in my head and I'm scared, without sounding insane, so I stayed silent. Around this time, the house grew. Active. Objects fell off shelves on their own, loud bangs echoed from empty rooms, voices appeared out of nowhere. Sometimes, at night, I heard what sounded like a whole party happening in the living room. I'd get up expecting to see people everywhere, but the house would be empty. Worst of all were the footsteps. Loud, constant shuffling around my bed, as if 2 or 3 people were standing over me, shifting their weight, watching me sleep. At first it terrified me. Eventually it just exhausted me. It became so constant that irritation replaced fear. Once I woke up to see a shadow figure standing over me. Behind him stood at least 10 more, silent and human-shaped. The closest one wore a hat. After that, I would occasionally see the same black figures during the day. Eventually, I convinced myself they were trying to communicate with me telepathically. When I stopped seeing them, I didn't know whether to feel relieved or abandoned. The noises became a family joke, though my mom, a strict Christian, hated any suggestion that something paranormal was happening. But my siblings and I felt it. We knew something was there. As a kid, I loved playing imaginary teacher. I'd line up stuffed animals and give lessons, tests, grades. My sister and I shared a room for years, but she eventually got tired of my games. I moved my classroom to the kitchen, the living room, but most often my parents' bedroom. That's where things got worse. Whenever I started teaching, I felt watched. The feeling would grow until it was pure hatred, heavy, sharp, directed entirely at me. It felt like it wanted me dead or suffering. Some days I couldn't stay in the room long. If I was too happy or playful, the presence would intensify. I remember staring into the corner of my dad's side of the bed, knowing something was there, staring back with pure malice. In my mind, I pictured a black cloud pulsing with energy. I knew it was male. You know how you can just feel someone's intentions? It felt like that. His hatred seeped into me. I didn't understand why something would hate an 11-year-old playing pretend. I hadn't wronged anyone. I hadn't killed him. but it felt targeted, like he wanted me specifically to suffer. By then, I was deeply suicidal. I tried to choke myself until I nearly passed out. I tried a belt to the closet rack and lifted my feet off the floor. I started self-harming around 6th grade, and by high school it spiraled. Taking far too many sleeping pills, hoping I'd taken too many. My mind felt fragile, like one more night of this would shatter me. One incident stands out though. I loved sleeping on the floor. One night, half asleep in my parents' room with my feet tucked under their bed, I felt a cold, slimy, long-fingered hand grab my foot and yank me inward. I shot upright, screaming, "Who just grabbed my foot?" My mom and sister rushed in, confused. No one had touched me. My grandmother once visited from California. The moment she walked in, she asked my mom, panicked, "Why did you tell me you invited that man here?" My mom said, "What man?" My grandmother explained that she'd seen a man sitting in my dad's chair, angry, mean-looking. That was the first real validation I'd ever gotten. Eventually, I told my mom about the nightmares. She told me to sleep with a Bible under my pillow. Surprisingly, it helped for a while. When I walked the house at night and felt the presence, I'd recite scripture in my mind, and it would vanish instantly, leaving the air silent. Still, the damage had been done. The self-harm, the suicidal thoughts, it all rooted deep. I felt like a monster, like something had infected me with darkness. I truly believed something was tormenting me, inserting images, pushing me toward death or madness. I clawed my way back with therapy, hospital stays, and years of analyzing my own mind while smoking and talking through my thoughts. Eventually the presence faded, but sometimes, in places I've lived since, I think I felt it again. A familiar heaviness in the air. One last moment ties everything together. I was about 17 or 18, getting ready in the back bathroom. My mom was in the front bathroom. Out of nowhere, right next to my right ear, a deep male voice said my name. Alyssa. Clear, loud, real. I turned toward the shower and saw the air ripple, like the heat waves bending the light. 4 seconds later, my mom called my name from across the house, and the presence disappeared. I ran out of the bathroom instantly. I still think about it. I'm 24 now, and I sometimes feel like he's still following me, just waiting for something. I can't forget the self-harm, the nightmares, the terror. I can't forget the feeling of being hunted. Whether it was a demon or a person's angry spirit, I don't know. But it left a mark on me, a permanent one. I still get flashbacks, panic attacks, sudden waves of the same dread I felt as a child. I don't tell most people because most people don't understand. But the dead, the dark, they can touch you. They can twist your mind. And people who have lived through it deserve to be believed. I don't really care if people believe this or not. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm just sharing what happened because honestly, it still sticks with me, and maybe you'll find it interesting. Believe whatever you want. This all happened over 10 years ago. So, for some background, me and my dad never had a good relationship. At all. So when the time came that I had to move in with him, I was already miserable about it. But then my sister, we'll call her Jane, made it worse by telling me some things about the room I'd be staying in. Now the house itself was this old Victorian place with high ceilings and that weird heavy atmosphere old houses have. Jane had stayed with my dad before, since she was always closer to him than I was. Meanwhile, I stuck with my mom. Anyway, she tells me, "Just so you know, some weird stuff happened while I was in that room." Which immediately made me think, great, just what I need. She said one night she was downstairs with the dog, just chilling, when suddenly the CD player in the bedroom upstairs turned on by itself. She didn't freak out at first, just went upstairs, turned it off, came back down. But when she got back, the dog was snarling at the empty seat next to her, backing away, hackles up, acting like something invisible was sitting there. She calmed the dog down, and just when things settled, the CD player turned on again. So she ran upstairs, turned it off, and this time actually unplugged it from the wall, like physically holding the plug in her hand. Then, while she was on the phone asking her friend if she could stay over, the CD player blasted on full volume. Unplugged. Full blast. She grabbed the dog and just ran out of the house. Stayed with her friend for a while after that. So yeah, after hearing that, I wasn't exactly excited about moving in, but I was young, so I didn't have a choice. The moment I moved in, things with my dad went right back to how they always were. Yelling, physical shit, walking on eggshells, the whole mess. So naturally, I hid in my room all the time. And that's when all the weird stuff started happening to me. Little things at first, cupboard doors opening on their own, stuff moving around when I knew exactly where I'd left it, a light bulb literally falling out of the socket and smashing on my head. I even watched a doorknob turn by itself and the door swing open. I'd just stare at it like, okay, cool. But the moment that really freaked me out was one night when I was playing games in my room. Out of nowhere, there was a massive, violent bang. I jumped up at the same time. My dad came storming upstairs from the living room. We both looked up and saw the attic hatch wide open, slammed against the wall so hard it left a huge dent. My dad immediately started yelling at me, accusing me of breaking it. Meanwhile, the hatch was like 7 feet high and I'm 5'5". I couldn't even reach it on my tiptoes, and I had been in my room the whole time. Of course, he didn't listen. The next day after he left, I got curious. I climbed onto the banister and pushed the attic hatch up myself, letting it swing down naturally to see what angle it would fall. And no matter how I did it, it never hit the wall. Not even close. There was no way it could have caused that dent on its own. That's when I started avoiding walking under the attic completely. But then came the moment that basically ended it for me. I was home alone brushing my teeth in the bathroom. The attic hatch is between the bathroom and the room I stayed in, so it was right above me. I glanced up, and right in front of me, the hatch swung open violently and smashed the wall again, just like the first time. I don't think I even touched the stairs. I just ran. I grabbed whatever I had nearby and left the house immediately. Didn't look back, didn't breathe until I was outside. After that, I refused to stay there anymore. I started staying elsewhere, just like Jane had. And honestly, for a few years after I left that house, weird stuff still followed me around. Nothing insane, but little things that made me wonder if something had attached itself or if I'd just gotten too used to noticing things. But eventually, everything quieted down, and for the last couple of years, nothing strange has happened at all. Still, I'll never forget that house, or that room, or that damn attic hatch. Some things just stay with you, even years later. When I was 7 years old, my mom, my sister, and I moved into this old rundown trailer across from my grandparents' farmhouse. At that age, memories are half real and half imagination, and that whole period of my life still feels like that, sharp flashes mixed with empty spaces. I remember little things, birthday parties, storms, and the strange plastic bead curtain my sister had in her doorway. That sound, the soft clattering when you walk through it, stayed with me for years, even when everything else faded. My grandparents lived across the street, down a long driveway in this beautiful white brick farmhouse with huge windows and quiet wooden floors. At the time, I didn't understand why we'd moved into such a shabby place, but my mom was newly single, pregnant, and struggling. Living near my grandparents meant help, and she needed it. The weird part is how scattered my memories from that place are. I can remember a toy staff I got for my 8th birthday, like the exact sound it made when I swung it around, but I can't remember what the kitchen looked like. And even though I can picture my grandparents' house perfectly, I can't remember what it looked like after it burned down later that year. Fast forward to this September. I quit smoking weed, and suddenly my dreams came back. Real, vivid dreams I haven't had in years. At first it was awesome. Then one night I had that dream. The dream I used to have every single night as a kid. The one I'd forgotten on purpose. As a kid, I had constant night terrors. My mom or my sister would have to shake me awake because I was screaming or sleepwalking. But I didn't remember the details, just the fear. When I called my sister recently, she told me the nightmares only happened while we lived in that trailer. And she said she didn't escape that fear either. Behind the trailer, about 30 yards into the woods, there was this old plastic Fisher-Price playhouse. My sister and I used to play there all the time. I remember sitting inside it, both of us somehow fitting, and her telling me a scary story. I ran home crying, and that same night the woods caught fire. The playhouse burned. Almost the whole thicket went up. My sister was blamed for it. Months later, my grandparents' house burned down too, and again, my sister was blamed. After that, things between her and my mom were never the same. We eventually grew up and moved away. We didn't talk much, but after that dream came back, I finally called her, and what she told me broke open every locked away memory I had. She told me our mom had been in a really dark place back then, that we spent way more time with our grandparents than I remembered. And she told me, very plainly, there was something wrong with that house. She said I had night terrors every single night, thrashing, screaming, wandering the hall. But it wasn't just me. She said she always felt watched, like the house hated us. After we hung up, I couldn't stop thinking about that dream. In it, I was standing in my sister's room, staring through that bead curtain into the hallway. I felt something waiting for me in my old bedroom. I knew I had to get to my mom's room, but whatever was in mine, it wouldn't let me pass. I woke up with that same familiar dread I used to go to sleep with as a kid. So I decided to ask my mom the questions I'd avoided for 20 years, especially about the fires. My mom's older now, calmer, softer, but when I brought up that house, she tensed up immediately. After a long pause, she admitted she'd always known something was wrong with that place. She said we all acted strange there, especially my sister. Everything felt dreamlike, like it didn't belong in her memory. When I asked about the fires, she hesitated. Then she told me the truth. She said she'd believed my sister had set them. My sister had been angry, withdrawn, acting bizarre. And my mom, pregnant, overwhelmed, barely holding herself together, couldn't imagine any other explanation. Then she said, "Your sister didn't burn anything. I was wrong." The real culprit was much worse. My younger brother's father, the man my mom had escaped, had followed us from Kentucky. He stalked us for 3 years. He burned the woods where we played. He burned down my grandparents' home. My sister had seen him outside her window for weeks, but my mom was so mentally exhausted she couldn't believe it. The day after the farmhouse burned, she packed us up and fled to Virginia. Not long after, that trailer burned too. No one was ever arrested. He disappeared and eventually he killed himself on my brother's 5th birthday. I don't remember his face, but he shows up in my dreams. Some people are haunted by memories. Some by